Skipping doses brings your libido back. Most people are badly confused about TRT. And folks think like the more testosterone you inject, the better libido, erection, sexual function, climax, and all that stuff's going to be. But generally speaking, because you're fighting a war against estradiol while trying to keep it moderately high or as high as you can DHT, going on high doses, unless you can tolerate an AI, which a lot of people can't, is going to be problematic. Now, you'll have the occasional bump in libido and erectile quality if you go on like a cycle, like when I went up to 300, then I went up to 500. I was dealing with at the time, I'd lower estrogen from kind of the protocol prior to that, and then higher DHT and higher test. So for a period, things were good. But then once that estrogen creeps up, it gets bad. But you're going to see in the forums, and we're going to look at all manner of examples of people having libido and erection issues on TRT, then they skip a dose, and it all comes back. Let's break down why and what you can do about it to find your sweet spot in terms of dose. All right, before we start the video, Low Cortex Labs is a TRT guidance, sexual dysfunction resolution, and performance optimization company. The major thing that I want to break down for you guys, this 50% discount on coaching, I've extended to 20 additional slots. In the month of August, I'm going to have 10 people close their sessions from previously booking months and months back. And in the beginning of September, I've got 5 more. So those are slots opening up, boys. So the 50% discount on coaching, on TRT coaching, specifically around sexual function, libido and erection optimization, as well as PFS, PSSD, etc., it's extended. 20 more slots open. Code is down in the description of this video. The link is as well. Source list, anything you can think of, including high potency DHT. Also, 30% off. Code is on the screen. Link is down in the description of this video. Go get a copy. All right, we're going to start with a soft one. Just a soft beginning here. This one, I skipped my shot and I feel amazing now. Any insight into why? Guy goes, so I take 80 milligrams of Test C, 500 IU of HCG, and 0.25 milligrams of Arimidex on Tuesdays, and then 80 milligrams Test C, 0.25 milligrams Arimidex on Fridays. This Friday, I skipped the shot entirely. So in other words, he only ran 80 milligrams a test in that week, 500 IU of HCG, but it looks like he might have still run the 0.25 milligrams of Arimidex. We actually don't know that. He goes, I have felt absolutely awesome too. The last 3 weeks on TRT have been mostly exhaustion and fatigue, which is why I skipped the shot. Figured, why the fuck am I going to keep going if this isn't helping anymore? So I'm supposed to take the net shots tomorrow, but I'm thinking of skipping them too. Since I feel phenomenal, what would be the cause of the surge of energy and mood lift from skipping the shot? First answer, get your blood work. Estrogen might be off. Yeah, I mean, if he's taking Arimidex, 160 milligrams a week, and he's one of those guys that responds to high doses of Arimidex at 0.25 milligrams, then, that 0.5 over the week probably wasn't taking the estrogen in a reasonable range. He was probably still 45, 55, and some guys are extremely sensitive to estradiol. So he skips the injection. He's got the Arimidex working from, the previous injection of 80 milligrams, and suddenly he gets into the zone. Again, that was a soft start. Here's the hard start. Hypersexuality after missing dose. 33 years old, on TRT for about a year and a half now. Test sip 200 milligrams a week for about 5 months now. Was at 200 milligrams every other week before. For some reason, the LabCorp that I did my blood work at this time was insanely slow, and I can't get my script until the results are back. I was supposed to inject December 24th, and I've noticed the last 2 days or so, my libido has become uncomfortably high. Anyone else ran into this? Any advice would be appreciated. Essentially, the guy in the comment section sort of breaks it down, right? He says, if you feel better after missing a dose or doses, then your T dose is likely too high. It's not that the testosterone dose is too high for you, because we use and love androgens. It's what we are built on, and it's what we thrive on. It's that with an aromatizable androgen, you're making more estradiol. Another guy in the comments, same thing is happening to me. Was supposed to take my last dose on Wednesday and both forgot and got lazy. Today, my sex drive is way higher than normal. And then another guy basically just simply states what the hell is going on here. He says, you're probably running your estrogen too high. Last one, I always have the highest libido starting at 2 days before my shot, which is once weekly. I mean, what's that? Point is, what's happening with these dudes is they're glossing right over the sweet spot when they skip a dose. Because when you skip a dose, well, guess what happened? You have less substrate for aromatization. So estrogen's just going to go down. And if it happens to land in your sweet spot, again, 25, 35 or so for men on TRT, well, then you have hypersexuality. And people often comment about this and they go, well, all you have to do then is try to figure out what your ideal dose is to reach where you were when you skipped a dose in terms of where estradiol is. Sure, you want to look at tests, you want to look at DHT and free tests just to see where they are, but ultimately you got to see where estradiol is, then make a calculation on what your dose should be. So let's get to that. All right, I want to make 5 major points about why skipping a dose can bring your libido back. Number 1. Lowers estradiol, okay? That's the lowest hanging fruit here. If you're on a dose that's a little too high for you just because you're converting too much to estradiol, not because the androgens are too much, because we thrive on androgens, you skip a dose, well, you have less substrate for aromatization now. The estrogen's you're gonna start metabolizing that estrogen out. You'll urinate some of it out. Like the blood levels and the tissue levels of estradiol are going to drop. So essentially, anybody on any protocol can employ this strategy. Like when libido is fine and good and erections are good, but then it starts to get a little wacky, just skip a dose. If you're doing every other day, skip your every other day dose and then cycle back the next time. If you're doing every day, skip a day, skip maybe 2 days. If you're rubbing cream on the testicles every day, skip a day. Second major point, it gives the system a break from E2. One of the things I've recognized in coaching is that the constant aromatization, especially as you get into higher doses, gives your system no break, which gives the tissues no break from estradiol. Male sex organs are not made to have an abundance of estradiol. Okay, if the sex organs have an abundance of estradiol, it's a surefire way to pretty quickly kill your dick. But importantly, point number 3, it gives you the ability to identify your sweet spot. And what you should do if you skip a dose and then libido and erections come back and you're like horny and waking up with wood in the morning and have painful erections in the middle of the night, you should run labs immediately. Don't just look at these windows where everything's good and be like, oh, things are good, I guess I'm on the right protocol, because that could change in a heartbeat. Go to discountedlabs.com or call your doc or however you can get prescribed labs. Go to Quest, go to LabCorp, draw the fucking blood. You need to see what those numbers look like. You need to see total T, free T, DHT if you can, but importantly, estradiol. Point number 4, to kind of piggyback on that, you should be, anytime you are in the sexual sweet zone on TRT, like you changed the dose, you modified something, you added an ancillary, when you get in the zone, in that window, you should run to get labs. I don't care what you have to do. Call your doc 3-4 times, leave messages, go to discounted labs. Most states they cover. And you can just pay for your labs yourself. And that day, you could walk into Quest and walk into LabCorp and draw your blood. People forget, we like to go by feels and stuff, but regarding skipping a dose or whenever you end up in a good sexual function window, you want that raw data on what the bloods say. And then when you get that information and you see estradiol at 27 and total T at 727 and free T kind of at the top of the range and DHT at 60, you realize that's where you have to be. And then you modulate your testosterone dose to achieve that. Let's talk about that and let's break down some examples. All right, well, I'll give you one major hallmark example that's pretty easy for everybody to understand. If you're on 150 milligrams of tescipionate a week and you're running every other day injections, which would be 42 milligrams of tescip every other day, and then you skip a day, you skip that every other day, you just, on your injection day, you just don't inject. You probably have enough tests left over. You're not going to feel like totally crappy. Your energy might be down a little bit, but you skip a day, you go on about your business, and then you wake up with morning wood, nocturnal erections, your libido is insatiable throughout the day, and everything seems like it clicked and it worked, like the guy on Reddit who had hypersexuality after skipping a dose. You simply take your total dose per week you've been dosing and subtract the dose that you missed. So in this case, the guy's dosing 150 and he missed a 42 milligram dose. So you take 150 minus 42, and that gives you round about what your dose ultimately should be. And in that case, 150 minus 42 is 108 milligrams a week, which would make sense. You'd be hard pressed to over aromatize at 108 milligrams a week, even with some HCG. So then what you do when you figure that out, when you've subtracted your total weekly dose by the number of milligrams that you would have injected that you missed, and you get, in this case, 108 milligrams a week, you're going to be somewhere close to that number, call it 105 milligrams to 112 milligrams, with 108 kind of being somewhere in the middle. If you're intelligent and you're employing the strategy and you've run the labs when you skipped the dose and had hypersexuality, well, then you know the target for where estrogen needs to be. And then you just carefully, within that small little window, in this case of 105 milligrams to 112 milligrams a week of test, in this case injected every other day, you just kind of oscillate back and forth. You run 105 for 2 weeks, you run the estradiol. If it's still a little over or something, you run 100. If it's at 18 and you're feeling like libido's lacking a little bit, you probably move that up, maybe call it 110 to 112 milligrams, and then you run estradiol sensitive. This kind of thing happens all of the time. Here's another example, okay? A lot of people like test prop. I popularized it by talking about it. It's such a cool ester. You can dial in really quickly, and it makes you feel amazing. If you run 45 milligrams of test prop injected in the glute every day, and in the beginning things are like pretty good, you're having erections, you have libido, but then that starts to go away, and then you simply skip a day. You skip a day. I mean, 45 milligrams is going to peak the test high enough to where you skip that day. Might feel a little tired again, but it's worth at least experimenting. You do that, you skip a day, you get hypersexuality, libido and erections come back, then it's time to do the calculation. First of all, go to Quest. Get the labs, okay? See where estradiol is. If you want to see where total T, DHT, free T, fine. But importantly, estradiol. Then the first thing you should do is just subtract 45 milligrams from your weekly dose. In that case, 45 milligrams a day is 315 milligrams a week. So you take 315 and you subtract 45. And from there, you get your potential new dose, which is 270 milligrams a week, which would be 38 milligrams a day instead of 45. So all you did was lower the dose 7 milligrams a day. 7 times 7 is 49. So you lowered it 49 milligrams a week. And hopefully that gets you in the estrogen sweet zone, in the zone where you need to be. And still with prop, because it enters quick and then it clears quick, you're still dosing a lot of testosterone. I mean, 270 a week. That's a good bit of testosterone. Let's talk about test cream and how this works with test cream, because I've seen this plenty of times, man. Guys will be on 3 pumps of the 200 milligram per milliliter stuff. They do that in the morning on the scrotum, right? In the beginning, maybe the first month and a half, things are fucking phenomenal. They're walking around, it's just a walking erection. The libido's crazy, like, this works for me. But then things start going by the wayside because estrogen goes over your range and starts inhibiting penile tissue, blood flow, fucking with arcuate nucleus dopamine. It's pretty hard to inhibit dopamine and have libido, which is what estrogen does. You skip a whole day. With cream, it's out really quickly. I mean, I've seen guys go from 900 total tests on the day, like 5 hours or so after application, to 132 24 hours later. I mean, so like the estradiol's going to drop at least 10 points, 15 points, maybe depends on how fast you're clearing it out of the liver. Add some calcium B-glucarate, it'll clear the estrogen out faster. Then you realize, wow, I'm in the zone. I'm in the sexual sweet spot just from skipping a day. That's the time to get on your damn laptop, go to discountedlabs.com or wherever you get labs, order the labs, run your ass to Quest or LabCorp, and get the fucking labs. But in that case, you might just end up in a place where 6 days out of the week, you're putting your 200 milligrams per milliliter, 3 pumps testosterone cream on the scrotum, and you're just skipping a day, ideally in the middle of the week. Okay, so you run it Monday, you run it Tuesday, you run it Wednesday, skip it Thursday, run it again Friday, Saturday, Sunday, skip Monday or skip Tuesday. You have to find the schedule that ultimately works well for you. But in the end, it's like we think that we've got to be just seatbelted into the protocol that we figured out works. But sometimes you got to skip a day, or sometimes you just dose a little lower one day. If that's the way you can manage TRT without having to take an AI, without having to take DHT derivatives, without having to hyper manipulate the protocol, which usually ends up where the sexual function is good sometimes and inconsistent other times, well, then you definitely want to try to do that. You've got to also be acutely aware of essentially where your dick is. You know, are you waking up with painful nocturnal erections? That's about the point where if estrogen goes a little lower than that, you're going to start losing libido. At the same time, you'll start losing erectile quality on a particular dose if estrogen goes just a little too high. So if you're paying attention to that, when you see it happen consistently for like 2 days in a row and you've not changed anything on your TRT protocol, that would be the time to skip a dose, you know, or possibly just kind of take half your dose the next day. There's all manner of ways to skin this cat. And I'll finish with one example that actually happens to me that I employ. So right now, I'm running 112 a week generally, testosterone cypionate right in the upper glutes, 5/8 inch needle, running daily injections, 330 IU of HCG every day, 20 milligrams DHEA every day. And then it's about 25 milligrams of testosterone cream on the scrotum every morning. You know, that's fucking phenomenal for me. Lots of DHT. I just got the perfect DHT to estradiol ratio. You know, I got a lot of intratesticular activity, so that stays good. The climax, the semen, all that stuff is like good. But you know, every now and then I'll notice EQ gets like a little less good. Still totally good for penetrative sex, but not the fucking super optimal EQ. So like the next day, I'll just dose 200 IU of HCG, you know, or maybe I'll take the test dose itself down to, instead of 16 milligrams, I'll just bump it down to 14 milligrams. I mean, just a couple milligrams less of the aromatizable androgen, and then I'm right back in the sweet zone. I've had to do that over the years, recognizing that sometimes that's all it takes. So you could do it both ways. You could determine based on looking at labs and doing the subtraction of the amount that you miss from your total weekly dose, and then adjust your dose and end up in the sweet spot on a set it and forget it dose. If you can't do that or don't want to, you just skip a dose every now and then, or have the dose the next day when you notice erectile quality specifically or libido go somewhat awry. In the end, there are so many ways to dial in on TRT, and you know, maybe you shouldn't think about it as if you're on a set it and forget it thing. I know that would be easy, and generally you are. If you skip one dose a week, you know, of cream, you're still kind of on a set it and forget it kind of thing. No, every fourth day, you just skip the dose. But in the end, if you're not dialed in on TRT, I can guarantee you, you're not that far away. But remember, you have the power at any moment to just dose half the next day or skip a dose. So don't think that you just got to be beholden to the protocol at all costs. You know, like if it isn't working, skip a dose. You know, do some experimentation. Skip a dose, go run your labs. If the sexual function comes back, you know you're in the sweet spot, do the calculation, revise your protocol, and continue trucking forward. Because as the folks are reporting on Reddit, and I'll report to you now with clients over the years, including myself, you can get hypersexuality after missing a dose. This is a real thing, and it should give you the raw data with the labs and your feels to dial in further on TRT. All right, guys, as I said in the beginning, the biggest thing for folks to note is that right now, the 50% discount on all coaching, TRT, HRT coaching, mainly for libido and erections, also folks that have PFS and long-standing sexual dysfunction, people that cannot dial in sexual function on TRT. That is my specialty. The 50% off discount, which saves you thousands of dollars. Look, I've got 10 guys closing out at the end of the month, 5 more in September and 5 more at the end of September. I'm opening up 20 more slots. Use the coupon code COACHDISCOUNT. Literally watch thousands of dollars come off the total. And book me for more time. You get that time now for substantially cheaper. Try it for yourself. Go add coaching to your cart, punch the coupon code in COACHDISCOUNT, and watch how much money comes off. Boys, this is the biggest discount I've ever run on coaching. Get on board and let's get on the fact-finding call as soon as tomorrow. I take this stuff very, very seriously. Whatever problems you have, we'll resolve them. Source list, 30% off, 30% off. Everything you can think of, including high potency DHT, the 20% stuff. I think every guy should at least have it. Code is source30. Go get sourceless, livecortex.com. All right, boys, it's been an absolute, we're concluded with the video. If you just sub to the, hold on. What's wrong with this chair? God. Damn it. I'm sorry. I'm losing my shit here. Thanks so much for watching, boys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Like the video. The mic. This is the 10th day I forgot the mic. I'm going to forget it again tomorrow, I bet. How much you want to bet? You got a quarter? Just grab the mic real quick. Sorry, guys. I didn't sleep good last night. Give me this. I'm out. I'm going to end the video. I'm hitting stop. Stop record. We're done here. Been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you boys. Do me two favors if you would, just for the content's sake, man. Hit the like button. It really does matter to the algorithm, and it matters to me. I would really appreciate a like. Hit the like button. Secondarily, sub to the channel. So many more breakdowns on strategy for dialing in TRT, specifically for libido and erections. I'd love to have you on board. Otherwise, much more content coming this week. Live stream this Saturday between 9 and 11 a.m. Eastern time, so be there, and I will see you there. Remember, those of you thinking of booking, I just opened 20 more slots on coaching. I'll talk to you boys tomorrow.